Welcome students. So today we are going to do our next chapter, that is fiber to fabric, chapter number 3. So as you already know about some fabrics like cotton, you have a choice of wearing like today I'm going to wear cotton clothes, today I'll wear some new fancy synthetic clothes, something like that. So today we are going to study how these fabrics are made, what the history told us about the clothes and many things. So first of all, we know that clothing, we need clothes to cover ourselves and to save us from, to protect us from weather, strong sunlight, extreme cold, heat, rain, etc. Clothes also protect us from insects. We also wear clothes to make ourselves look smart. That is why we may wear clothes according to the latest fashion. So there are kinds of clothes like people wear mainly depends upon the climate of a place, and the traditional clothes worn by people in our country vary from region to region. So first of all, let's understood about the history of clothes. Clothing material history. So clothing was invented between 50,000 or to 1 lakh years ago. Stitching needles made of bones and ivory about 30,000 years old have been discovered in Russia. Long ago, people covered their bodies with animal skins in cold and with bark, leaves, and grass in warmer regions. Here I have given the example a picture of uh, if animal skin made fabric. After the discovery of stitching needles, skins of animals were used to make fitted clothes like trousers. When people learned agriculture, they began weaving plant materials by hand to make clothes. So, now, first of all, before understanding the fabric, let's feel some fabrics. Feel the cloth or fabric of a cotton t-shirt. Just take a cotton t-shirt, woolen sweater, a silk sari or a synthetic sari or shirt or a jute bag. What difference? When you touch those fabrics, you will feel a difference. And what type of difference? Here you can see the shiny shimmering silk fabric. This is jute fabric. This is synthetic fabric. This is a woolen fabric. This is cotton fabric. So what exactly you feel or what difference you will find? The cotton is light and reasonably smooth. Wool is fluffy. Silk is smooth and shiny. Synthetic is light and smooth, while the jute is rough. So, cotton, wool, silk, and synthetic cloth are the four main materials from which clothes are made today. Now, fibers and fabrics. So, fabrics are made up of yarns, and yarns are made up of fibers. The cloth produced by weaving or knitting textile fiber is called fabric. So basically there are two types of fibers. One is natural fiber, one is man-made fibers. So we will study about these natural fiber and man-made fibers in detail. First of all, natural fiber. The fibers which are obtained from plant and animals are called natural fibers. For example, cotton, wool, silk, jute. So these are the pictures are showing some. This is cotton, this is wool, this is jute, and this one is silk. So, and man-made or synthetic fibers are the fibers that are synthesized in laboratory are called man-made or synthetic fibers. For example, nylon, this one nylon, polyester, makmal, or fur, etc. So, what we got to know that the material, the fibers which we get from plants or animals are called natural fiber, and which are synthesized or made in laboratory are called man-made fiber. Now, first of all, let's study about cotton. So, cotton is a soft, fluffy staple fiber that grows around the seeds of the cotton plant is called cotton ball. This is called cotton ball. So, cotton is a warm season crop requiring moderate rainfall. Black soils found in western India and southern India, and alluvial soils of northern India are suitable. Alluvial meaning that soil which made up of variety of materials like fine particles, clay, and large particles like sand, gravel, etc. So in India, cotton is sown between May and September in different parts of the country. The harvesting begins from October. Now, how the cotton is made? The process includes three steps. One is ginning or preparation, you can say, spinning, and weaving. This is the cotton in the fields, and then this is the ginning, this is spinning, and this is weaving, sorry. So basically three steps are included in the process of making cotton. So let's see in detail how and these processes works. First of all, ginning the cotton. Cotton balls burst open after maturing. One can see the seeds covered with cotton fibers. So here the seeds are covered with cotton fibers. The fibers are then separated from the seeds by combing. This process called ginning, and it was earlier done by hand. Nowadays machines are used. So earlier people used to do this ginning, like extracting or separating seeds from the fiber by hand, but nowadays machines are used. Now next process is called spinning. The fibers are then spun into yarn by drawing out and twisting the fibers together. The process of making yarn from fibers is known as spinning. Like this, you can see in this picture, a lady is spinning the charkha. I think all have heard about the charkha. So she is spinning the yarn from fibers. Spinning was traditionally done on a hand spindle like takli or on a spinning wheel, that is charkha. But nowadays machines are used at the larger area for the spinning. Now next is weaving. Weaving the cotton. A fabric is made up of two sets of yarn. Now yarn is made from the fibers of the cotton. Now we have to convert yarn into fabric, and that a fabric is made up of two sets of yarns arranged together. This is done by weaving. Weaving of fabrics is similar to weaving two sets of strips of paper as shown in this picture. This is the weaving pattern, one of the weaving pattern. Pattern can be different. There are many types of pattern. So two sets of yarns are arranged together in different ways to get different patterns. This is called looms. So these are either hand operated or power operated. So this is the power operated loom, that is this weaving is done by the power and machine, and this is called hand looms, that is weaving is done by the hands. Now advantage and history of cotton. Now the cotton cloth is soft and lets air in. It also absorbs sweat. The advantage of cotton cloth is that the sweat it absorbs evaporates because of the air it breathes. So a cloth that lets air in is said to breathe. This results in cooling down of the body. The cotton clothes are therefore comfortable to wear, especially in hot, humid weather. Denim, a type of durable cloth used to make jeans, is made from the cotton. Now, let's know a bit about the history of cotton. Now, cotton has been used to make cloth, especially in areas with tropical climates, for thousands of years. Some historians believe that Egyptians used cotton as early as 40,000 years ago. The earliest written reference to cotton is from India. Cotton had Cotton has been grown in India for more than 3000 years. Now let's discuss another fabric, that is called wool. Wool is the fabric derived from the hair of sheep and some other animals. Removing the wool from sheep using special clippers is called shearing. So this in this picture, shearing process of shearing is shown. This is sheep with its wool, and here a person is removing the wool with the help of special clippers. After shearing, the wool is packed into bales and transported to the mills. Here, bales, that means it is packed in bundles and it is transported. Here, it is cleaned and then combed by a machine, separated and spun into fiber. This fiber is then woven or knitted to make woolen clothes. This is the process of making wool. The sheep are sheared to remove the fleece. So the fur we get from the sheep are called fleece, and fleece is baled for transport to the mill. Here fleece is washed to remove dirt, and then the machine combs the loose wool fibers into a sheet. The sheet is then twisted into a rope called silver, and the silver is stretched and twisted into thin yarn, and the yarn is wound to form balls of wool. So this is the basically process of making wool. Now, knitting and weaving. After we get the yarn, what we will do, there are two processes like knitting and weaving, and both are different. In knitting, a single yarn is used to make a cloth or a fabric. Like our grandma or mom used to knit a big sweater for us, or a good sweater, or something like that dress for us. And in weaving, two sets of yarns are used. So here in this process you can see two yarns are used and this person is weaving. Now, history of wool and uses. Wool is fluffy and hence retain air. Since air is a bad conductor of heat, the wool has the property of retaining heat. That is, it can't let the heat away. So, clothes made from wool are therefore worn in cold weather. Wool is used for carpeting and making felt, etc. Now, history. Humans started domesticating sheep and other animals long back, and the use of wool for clothing and other fabrics dates back to some of the earliest civilization. Today, Australia is the leading producer of wool in the world, followed by New Zealand and China. India is among the top 10 wool producers in the world. Now let's move to another fabric that is called silk. Silk is obtained from the cocoon of silkworm. Silkworms are fed on the leaves of the mulberry leaf trees. Each worm spins a continuous thread up to 800 meters long to make a cocoon. The cocoon is boiled in water to kill the silkworm and then unwound to get silk fiber. The rearing of the silkworm for the production of silk is known as sericulture. Remember बच्चे, the rearing of the silkworm for the production of silk is known as sericulture. Silk is greatly prized because of its shimmering appearance. Now this is the life cycle of silk, how we can get the silk. A tiny black caterpillar hatches out the eggs. The caterpillar eats mulberry leaves and grows bigger and bigger. It goes through 4 molds like larva, and then the caterpillar spins a cocoon of silk threads around itself like this. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar changes into a pupa. People unwind the silk thread from the cocoon to weave into. So this is the cocoon. People change this. They kill with boiling of the water, and they get this cocoon and they weave into the silk cloth. This cocoon is weaved into the silk cloth. Now the history and uses. Silk was first developed in China possibly 5000 to 8000 years ago, and from China silk reached India, the Middle East, Europe and Africa. This trade was so extensive that the major set of trade routes between Europe and Asia became known as the Silk Route. But recently, silk has come under fire from animal rights activists who maintain that the common practice of boiling silkworms alive in their cocoon is cruel. So, now, next is jute. Jute is a long, soft, shiny plant fiber that can be spun into coarse, strong threads. It is produced from the stem of the jute plant. Jute is one of the cheapest natural fibers. Some of its useful properties are biodegradability, durability, strength. It is especially useful for making strong packing material. So these are the jute. Here you can see the plants of the jute, and the fiber is made from the roots of the jute plant. So jute grows best in warm, humid climate with plenty of rainfall. It grows best in alluvial soil receiving silt from annual floods as in the Sundarbans Delta in India and Bangladesh. Jute is cultivated in rainy season. Sowing is done between February and May depending on the species. The crop is ready for harvesting in 4 to 5 months. So, jute is almost 85% of the world's jute cultivation is concentrated in Sundarbans Delta in India. So, in India, 85% of cultivation is done in India and Bangladesh. And after harvesting, the stalks of the plant, so these are the stalks of the plant are tied into bundles and then soaked in water for about 20 days. So they keep these stalks of the plant for 20 days in the water, and in this process the stalks of the plant softens and the tissues are softened and permits the fiber to be separated. The fibers are then stripped from the stalks in long strands and washed in clear running water, and then they are hung up to dry. After 2-3 days of drying, the fibers are tied into bundles and sent to the mills for further process. Jute is the second most important fiber after the cotton. It is used widely to make clothes, for wrapping bales of raw cotton, and to make sacks and coarse cloth. The fiber are also woven into curtains, chair coverings, carpets like decorating purpose or something like that, and backing for linoleum. Linoleum is a floor covering. Now, our next is synthetic fibers. Nylons and polyesters are the synthetic fibers as they are man-made, like they are synthesized in laboratory. What actually the process is, let's know. They are actually plastics made from the chemicals that are obtained mostly from petroleum. The plastic is then heated to melt it. It is then forced through a device called spinneret, which contain fine holes. The long thread that emerge from the holes are allowed to cool and solidify. So what they basically do is they melt the plastic and then they force that plastic to go through the device called spinneret, which contain fine holes, and that creates long threads of the plastics. Then they cool that long threads and wait for it to solidify. Several of these are twisted together to make the yarn, which is then used to make plastic cloth. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of synthetic fibers? The clothes made from the synthetic fibers are stronger and don't wrinkle easily. They also dry easily, but along with the advantages, there are also disadvantages, and they have very less air spaces in them than the natural fibers and don't breathe so well. That means they are not so comfortable in hot and humid area. They cannot absorb sweat, and these properties make them unsuitable for hot and humid weather. but they are often mixed with natural fibers such as cotton or wool to make cloth which has strength and can also breathe and absorb sweat. So students, basically this is the end of this chapter. But we got to know that there are two types of fibers: natural fibers, synthetic fibers. And natural fibers are cotton, wool, silk and jute. Synthetic fibers are nylon and polyester. So please go through this video, listen to it carefully, and then we will have a query class. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you so much.